Hello everyone and welcome to my second Patreon video. Today we're going to be talking about camera animation techniques. And just a quick note, obviously these are some of the animation techniques that I have found in my personal work that have helped me. Obviously there's a million different ways to attack problems, and you're always going to have to problem solve on the go. So this video is going to have three parts. The first part is going to be about layout because I think it's important for animation in general. Second part is going to be hands-on, and we're going to be actually doing some camera animation. And then part 3 is going to be about keyframes and keyframing tools and all of that stuff that cinema has to offer that's going to help us animate a lot quicker. So yeah, let's just go straight into it. Okay, so this is the way that my layout always looks, and I wanted to showcase more specifically this view here, the second view that I have here. As you can see, I have I'm always looking through the camera that I'm animating or working with, and this one is also set to use as render view. So if I need to render a preview real quick, I know that whenever I hit render, this is the one that's going to render, and then that allows me to keep my big screen here for adjusting my scene and whatnot. If I hit play here, I'm always going to have the play from the camera view on demand for that. You can probably also notice that this is reproducing a little bit of a slow frame rate, and that's why I also have the frame rate here, just so I can take a look at that and optimize whenever possible. And the reason for that is because everything, you probably notice that both of my views are actually animating, and that's not by default. If I bring my preferences here and come to viewport display, this is usually full animation redraw is what's causing that. So if I uncheck that and move this away and hit play again, it's only going to animate the view that's in focus or highlighted. So right now my focus is on here, but if I click here, then my camera animates, and now I'm getting 150, 180 frames per second. So I know that I'm getting real-time animation. The reason why I have this set to full animation redraw is simply because I don't like having to come back here all the time. And if I adjust something, I need to come back here to this view and click on it so that it's in focus and I can see my camera animating. Also, you can see that I have some of the things that some of the tools here on the HUD, and I can show you how to get those really quick. If you hit Shift V on your keyboard and go to HUD, I'm going to click on this view here, and I always have frames per second, my take, my render settings, and the camera, which is already selected. And you'll see a lot of me clicking here. You can actually click on these menus and actually switch cameras. You'll see me doing this a lot. You can actually also switch between takes, and you can actually, if I had more render settings, I could actually switch between those two. So these are the things that are always on my layout, and I would recommend if you're getting into more anime. Here are the animations that we're going to be looking at today. I have some cinematic stuff and also some more MoGraph looking stuff, some simple and some more a little bit more complex. So let's jump into Cinema 4D and let's see what's going on. All right, so here we go, and let's just start with the kind of rig that I personally use. So let's just build it. Let's grab a camera and ignore the redshift tag here, and we are going to let me show you first why I use the kind of rig that I use. So let's say that I'm looking through my camera here, and I want to do a quick rotation around this chair. So you will probably most people would grab a target tag and then drop the chair as a target, and we can already see that there's something going on. And by the way, let me just really quick go into the details of my camera, and I'm going to disable the cone. I just prefer to work with a simpler view here. So yeah, we already have a problem because the axis of this chair is way down here, and I wouldn't want to change it, because if we had to actually animate this chair, I would want the axis there to move it and whatnot. So the first thing that we need to do is actually grab another null, and we can call this cam target. And instead of targeting the chair, we're going to target the null. And for the tutorial's sake, I'm just going to change this to a sphere and increase the size, so I know that that's looking at that here. Cool. Okay, so from here we can move the target. right, and place it where we want. Okay, and then we can grab our camera, and if I hit W here to get my world coordinates, we can try to do the rotation, but you can see what's happening here. Even if we want to do a simple push like this, because of the target and because of the way that this is actually working right now, we're getting this, let me make it more apparent, we're getting this push into the chair and then the push back. So we actually want to do a rotation for that. So the solution that I have found for that, and it's pretty much the rig that I always default to, is grabbing another null, and we're going to call this is in the center of the scene, we're going to call this camera control. And for now, I'm going to disable the target, and I'm going to make the camera, I'm going to zero out the position, and then I'm going to make that camera a child of the control. And then from here, I can just move the camera back and maybe up, and then this is what we would animate, right? And we get a constant and proper rotation around the chair. This is great because we are doing the rotation simply from one of the rotation parameters, whereas if we were to use, let me just enable this here real quick. If we were to use the target here, and if we look into the coordinates here, if I wanted to push or maybe angle the camera here and actually do a push in, you can see that we're actually affecting the X, Y, and Z. That's not what we want. I think there's ways around it, but it's to me it's a lot easier to just start with this type of rig, and I'm just going to zero out X, and maybe let's disable the target again, and let's zero out Y, right? So at the moment, and let's zero out the rotation. At the moment, the camera control and the actual camera are on the same plane on Y and on X, not on X, on X. So what I can do from here is just move my camera control up, which is going to bring my camera with me. And let's say that I want to do a push in. Well, now I only have to worry about the Z parameter here, and let's just animate this real quick. I'm going to grab my timeline like this, and let's bring this forward. So anyways, let's make this linear, and I'm going to talk about all of these tools that I have set up here and why they really work. So let's set up a loop point here, and let's just watch that. So now we have that that really nice push here. It's a linear push. It's very simple, but from here, because I'm only dealing with one parameter, I can simply grab these two keyframes and move them down, because I want my push to be a little bit less intrusive or go so close to the chair. And obviously we don't want to we probably don't want to do like the back of the chair. So from here I can just grab my camera control and reposition my angle like this. And again, here I'm only messing with the one push here, because as far as the camera goes, this is still, everything is still in 0, and we're only dealing with the Z axis. Let's say that we want to do an angle. Well, for that we can probably just use this here, and you can see how quickly we can make iterations by just simply adding a master null and then controlling the position of the camera over there. For example, from here I can add rotation, and also a rotation to the push. So I'm going to make a keyframe here, another keyframe, and let's grab, I just hit H on my keyboard. Let's just make this linear like that, and let's go back. And now we have a little bit of a rotation there. And again, the timeline is very, very powerful. I don't have to go back and adjust my my values. I can just simply twirl this down, right? And I know that this is my rotation and this is my position. I can select everything and then deselect here. So I know that my green one is my rotation. So let's say that I want more rotation. Well, I'm just going to grab this keyframe, hold shift and move up. and now we have more rotation. Well, this is rotating way too much. We want to start more from the back of the chair. Okay, cool. We can grab these two keyframes, hold shift, move down, and everything is adjusting appropriately to, you know, do everything that you need here. So this is coming from a place of just trying to separate everything into simple, manageable parts. So that's why I prefer to work with simple, you know, just separate values like this. The rotation on one side, the camera is on the C, and just so on and so forth. Another thing that we can do here is actually let's grab all of this, and let's I'm gonna hit shift and control and click to remove all of the keyframes, and then let's actually zero this out and zero this out here. If I just to get my point across, if I animate the C on the camera control, we're also gonna get you can see the camera is actually pushing in. So let's grab this back here. And this is something that I like to do. I like to place just like two placeholder keyframes on the timeline, and then just adjust from here from the timeline. So let's say that we want to do a push. So I'm going to zero this out, the camera, and I already have some push animation from the master null, and this is going to make sense in a minute. I'm going to select my redshift camera here, and now I'm looking through my camera, and I'm going to reposition the camera. So let's do something like, maybe change this to like a 90. And this is basically how I did one of the previews that I just showed you with the nice move across. So let's adjust here. This is obviously going too fast. Let's adjust our, if I select a keyframe and hit H, that's gonna bring me even closer. So my adjustment is a little bit more precise. And we can start here. I'm going to hit Shift G on my keyboard to go to the last frame. And then, or it's actually taking me to the last part of the timeline here. So never mind, let's do, let's bring this back. I'm just adjusting the push, just to show you that now that we have that, and I'm going to get out of my camera so we can see it here. Now that we have that, and we say, oh, okay, so I like the push, but we need like the same kind of push, but from an angle from below. Okay, we can keep this camera and just gonna make a duplicate now. We're gonna look through that, and I'm just gonna change the angle like this. And now we have another angle. We can probably say, oh, okay, let's do something else like that. So this makes it really easy to just keep the camera or the animation. Obviously, this is a simple move of a push, but this makes it really easy to just keep one animation, like a master animation, on the master null, and then just change the camera angle, or make duplicate, or make different cameras, and just get some more animation from there. I'm going to delete all of this, and I'm going to show you a breakdown of the shots. So we're going to come here, and I actually do need, or I have it here. So I have my takes here too. So let's take a look at camera A, and I'm gonna extend this. I can actually do double click here too. So this is the first animation that we have, and I can show you here the setup here. So we have a camera control, like I just showed you before, and that one has some animation in the Y position and on the rotation. And I actually made a target and a camera child of those two. And so the camera has some animation in the Z and on the banking here, and the target is also moving with the whole rig here. Well, not moving because we're only moving up and rotating. So let's see what we have here. So I can actually show you one of the things that I like about Cinema 4D. I'm gonna go here to my timeline. I'm gonna select my camera, select all of my keyframes, and you can already see something here, but I'm going to select all of my keyframes and I'm going to hit mute keyframes. And that's going to just disable the keyframes, but it's not actually deleting the keyframes. So we're going to see just the animation from the rotation from the master control here. So that's the animation that we have there. And I can come back to my camera, select my keyframes and unmute. And now you can see how it looks with that. And the reason why we are seeing something weird here, and I did that on purpose, is because I also added some animation to the Y position of that camera. You can see that I was trying to get like a push up and then down again, but that wasn't really working for me. So I can simply just grab that keyframe and shut it off or mute it. And that's already giving me a whole different feel. So the mute keyframes is very, very powerful. You just gotta remember, if you don't want the keyframe, or well, it's gonna show it to you here, but if you don't want it, I would just delete it. Okay, so we have just a little bit of animation up on the camera control, and that's actually selecting everything. Let's just select this here. So a little bit of animation up, and because the camera is, or not up, actually the master null is going down a little bit, so we can get this little bit this little move of the camera going down and then pushing back out like this. And obviously we have some curves here to aid the process of, you know, making everything look very smooth and whatnot. Just very simple. I just grabbed, you know, grabbed my keyframes here and started adjusting the curves to get more of a soft stop. But yeah, everything is controlled via this master null here. If we go to Bcam here I'm actually using a different kind of rig. So let's show this here. And this is looking like this because I had set up my detail level to low. Let's just set it back up to full. And here I'm actually using a circle spline, and I made the camera, I attached the camera to a circle spline with the align to spline expression. And this allowed me to actually control the push with animating the radius of that spline. So if you can see here on my viewport, what I'm doing is I place the camera. I'm not really animating the position. I don't think I am. Okay, I'm not animating the position of the camera on the spline. I just set it to a place where I thought it would look good to start from here, and then from there I'm just animating the radius, you know, expanding like that, and also the rotations and the Y axis of that. Here, because I don't need, because the camera is attached to the spline via the align to spline, it's going to follow the Y position from there. So I don't need to make it a child of it. And yeah, I'm just animating some rotation on the spline and some a little bit of the Y position on that to get to this point. And as you can see, it looks, I think it looks pretty good. And it's actually, you know, it's easy to control because I have everything animated separately. So if I wanted to work on the banking of the camera, I have just one simple value here that I can adjust. If I wanted to do maybe the target is doing a little bit of X and Y position, simply because at the beginning I wanted the camera to be looking here. If I brought the target to, and I can show you real quick here, if I mute those keyframes there, and we have the target in the center, then we get this. So I did a little bit of animation on the target, nothing really fancy, just X and Y to get that first position, and then obviously because I wanted to end on the center or looking straight at the chair, I did a little bit of animation to that there too. But yeah, just another way of approaching things. Let's take a look at CCam here. Let's see what we have. There we go. This is more of the same rig before. Like I was saying, I use this rig like 97% of the time. And here what I'm doing is, I can actually see it here in the timeline. This one is a little bit more, actually it's a little bit more simple because I'm only animating the master null in the position, in the Y position and the rotation, and then some banking on the camera, and the camera is actually pushing back. Same as I was doing before, I'm able to just push back the camera in C space because as far as the camera goes, this is in zero in space in here in the X. So I just did a little bit of a push on the camera, and let's mute these. Let's mute the rotation so we can see the camera. The whole rig is moving up, and then the camera starts to push back here. Just a simple push back on the C space, and a little bit of banking that we see here. So if I show these keyframes here, we can see that the banking is just simply going from 20 degrees all the way smoothly to 0 here for the duration of the thing. And then we're doing a little bit of a pushback with some curves here to delay the first move. We're going very fast, and then we're smoothing to a stop. That's what the camera is doing, and then the rest of the animation is really happening here. Let me try to get my keyframes. There we go. And then just again the master null doing that rotation. For the rotation, we're going from 0 smoothly, nice curve towards this point here, but then I wanted a little bit of follow through movement with the rotation, so that's why this is looking the way that it is here with that straight line, because we're going to this place and then smoothly like transitioning and continuing the move a little bit there. But yeah, pretty simple. Let's take a look at the last one here. This is a little bit more into what I was explaining before with the different angles that we can get. Here I animated for, let's take a look here. So I have this animation here on this angle, and then this one on this angle. And the reason why this is cutting between the two cameras is because I'm using a stage object, and the stage object allows you to, if I go to the stage here, or to the object tab here, it allows you to cut between cameras. So you can see here that I have this keyframe, and I can show you here. So this first keyframe is telling Cinema to use DCam, and then this second keyframe we're cutting to using DCam 2, and I'm actually cutting between those cameras before the first camera ends and before or after the first camera is already animating, just so that we get that seamless move and we don't get to see the cameras stopping at all. Let me just expand this here. So let me shut off the stage and let's focus on camera animation DCam 1. Cool. So this is what I was talking about before. I'm using the animation on the master null, and I'm just animating the Z value, and the camera is just positioned to, you know, to a place that I wanted to place it, just to get the angle that I wanted to get. Ignore this target object tag. It's not really using anything, but it was there from just copying the cameras. And yeah, I already have the camera animation, so I can change it to this, and I have set up also a shortcut to play and pause. So that's why I'm playing and pausing here. That's great. And then For DCAM 2, what I did, the rig is a little bit more, it's a little bit more involved, but let's just break it down. So let me hide this so we don't get confused. Okay, so DCAM 2, this camera is a child of a master camera, of a master null, and the master null is positioned here because I wanted the rotation on that camera to be from that point in the chair. If I change, obviously, if I change the placement of that null, the camera is going to follow. Well, right now it has keyframes, so it's not going to follow, but that actually allows me to show you a really quick tip. If you want to move something that has animation, you can click on this film strip thing here, and that's going to allow me to change the animation on the fly here in the viewport. This null only has animation on the y-axis, so that's why it only lets me adjust the y-axis, but you can see now that it didn't snap back to the place it was before because I'm in the animation mode. Let me undo here. Right, and I can do obviously I can do the same thing with the rotation, but hopefully you get the point. So yeah, we are doing the rotation from here. I wanted to get a nice rack focus from the armrest to the back of the chair, and I can show you that by activating the depth of field. So here I'm also using a target which is placed pretty much in the same place as the master null, and I simply did that just so I can control separately where the camera is looking. Like I can make the camera probably look here, and it's still going to do the rotation from the center of the chair. Obviously right now it's not working, but hopefully you get the point. So I'm controlling the rotation from this master null. I'm controlling where the camera is looking through the target, which I'm going to undo to get to where it was before. And I am controlling the focus or the rack focus with this other null so that I can get that smooth transition from the armchair to the back of the chair. And it looks like the camera is going in a diagonal simply because I'm animating the Y position and the rotation here. I don't think the camera has any banking. It doesn't, and it doesn't have any keyframes. Everything is controlled through here, and the focus is going from this point to that point. Obviously, the camera, if I go to the object tag and disable this, the focus object is this target here. So yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty simple way of rigging cameras with the master null or with the spline, but it's a really powerful and simple technique to be able to animate your cameras and have control over the different ingredients that would make the camera animation. And lastly, on this shot, I wanted to show you really quick something about the freeze transformations. If you don't know what freeze transformations are, we can basically decide, let's say that we want to keep this rotation, but we also want to push into the car. So again, we have the rotation on this null, but then we can go into the camera, and if I go to my local coordinates, I can push on the Z. But again, this is giving us a problem because all of the values are, to move the C is actually adjusting XYZ values because this camera is not zeroed out. So what we can use is actually go to the freeze transformations here, and we can say freeze all. And now this is the 0 point of my camera. So if I move my camera to a different position and I want to go back to that, I can hit my reset PSR and it's going to go back to that. But what this also opens for us is the ability to just animate the one value, which again, when I'm doing animations, whether that is for camera animations or for object animations, I like to keep everything simple. I don't like to have to adjust many different values just to get a specific move. So here I'm just messing with the C position of that camera because we zero it out, and let's see. Now we're slowly pushing into the car, and we can make that more apparent by doing this. So there you go. So that's a way that you can, this simple rig can help you out tremendously to create these kind of cinematic camera moves. All right, let's talk about some of the keyframe tools that I use and some of the keyframing, I guess you could say, techniques. So here are all of my tools that I've found over the years, and I've just been docking into this part of the timeline here. I don't really use all of them all of the time, but I'm going to show you the ones that I use most of the time. So let's just do a really quick camera animation here, and we're going to look through this ACAM. And for this first one, and I'm just going to come here and disable that. So I just want to show you one of the ones that I use most often. So let's come here, grab that, do this and that. Okay, so we have a couple of keyframes now, and let's just set this back to, let's say, 30 frames. All right, so we have that, right? And obviously you saw a lot of what I was using for making linear keyframes. Pretty simple. This one here is going to make the selected keys linear. So I can just select that and make those keyframes linear. I also have the step interpolation here, which is going to obviously go from one position to the other. Pretty self-explanatory. And then we have the spline one. So if I come here, is just going to give us an S curve. I honestly almost never use this one because I always use just set it to easy. So if I had this in step or linear, I can just click easy ease and it gives me that. So that's that one. So let's make these linear, and let's say that, okay, we have a push, but we actually wanted to have a push back. So I can just simply select all of these, and this is one that I use all the time. So mirror. So that's just gonna mirror the selection. So now we're going the other way around. Let's say that we want to have this easy ease like that, and let's say that we have maybe this going, overshooting like this down. You can use the remove overshooting. It's somewhere around here. Remove overshooting is gonna remove that overshoot and just make it horizontal again. Right now this remove overshooting is selected, but then if I create a keyframe here, and let's say that you have this here, you almost always have the two handles talking to each other, for lack of a better word. If I hold shift here and move one of the handles, now I'm breaking that connection, and that's why this one is activated here. So this is just the break tangents. So if I click that, it goes back to it. I almost always just use shift to do something like this whenever I need to. Most of the time I don't, but I have that here if I want to just simply snap it back, or I can also just select that keyframe that has the break tangents on and just click the easy ease, and that's just going to give me that back. One that I use all the time and that you saw before is we're going to select this point here, and if I want it soft, start and end, or actually it's just a constant movement to soft end, I can go back here and select this one and click 0 here, so 0 tangent length, and then just adjust this one here to create that curve. And that's just gonna, we're gonna be starting, the move is gonna be already happening, and we're just gonna slowly catch into the stop. We can also do the easy ease here, and obviously you can do it manually by hand, but I think it's handy to just click 0 tangent length here. Another one that we can use, that I use sometimes is locking the value. So here you saw me doing a lot of adjusting the value of the move here, but if I want to make sure that I don't adjust that by mistake, I can just lock the value here, and now I can't move it up and down. I can only move it in time. So right and left adjusts the keyframe time, and up and down adjusts the value. We can also lock the time here, so now we can move the keyframe at all. So we can uncheck that. Let's see, what else do we have here? So let's say that this is actually 2 moves. So let's just make it really quick. Yeah, that's fine. Let's just make rotation here to show you the other thing that I like to use here often. Obviously, I've been talking about the keyboard shortcuts. Selecting and hitting H, I get the whole keyframe animation. Alt H shows me the timeline, and then selecting the keyframe and hitting S is going to focus on that keyframe so that my adjustments are more precise. So let's hit Alt G or Alt H. There we go. And let's do maybe we can do let's move this back here. So we're gonna have a rotation and then a push in. Obviously, I'm not gonna go over adjusting the whole animation a lot, but I just want to show you this. So now I have my timeline playing, and this is something that I use all the time. So link view to preview range. If I activate that, you see that my timeline snaps to the edges, and then I can only zoom in, and then my timeline, it's going to only play back what's being visible here. You can also see that the timeline here snapped to that time in place. So this is very great to just focus on one part of the animation, because I can keep my timeline playing, and if I want to go and check how it's looking towards the end, I can just zoom in a little bit here, and now I'm just focusing on seeing that. So that's something that I use all the time. Let me just stop the playback, click here, and then double click here to snap back out. So now my preview is the whole timeline. And then let's see, this one is these are pretty useful as well. Automatic mode is going to show you everything in the timeline, but then paired with the show animated, is only going to show you what's animated from the timeline there. If I uncheck that and maybe do like that, this is what I was using before. Just here you can remove all objects from the timeline. It's not actually deleting anything, it's just removing it from the timeline. I can select the camera and remove the selected objects, and then this just allows me to focus on what I want to focus for animation. And then these are just for folding and unfolding. So if I do automatic and fold, now I'm folding the whole project, and then if I do unfold, it's doing that. And then these are just for selecting and folding. And then these 3 here allow me to hide certain objects from the timeline. So if I grab everything here, come back here, and let's say that I want to actually hide the camera from the timeline right now, I can hide the selected elements, and then I can unhide. And we have the one directional linking and whatnot. So I'm going to show animated and then disable the one directional linking. So that means that wherever I click here on my timeline, it's also going to select on my object manager here, and the other way around as well. So if that is selected, now I can select things in my timeline without actually selecting things on my object manager. And sometimes I would actually just click away here on my object manager so nothing is selected here, and I can just adjust my camera without that being selected over there like that. So just, little quality of life things that I like to use. And then finally we have this one, link view to object manager, and I think that's just going to show me in the timeline whatever I have selected in my object manager. I don't really use this one often, but I have it there just in case I have a pretty massive scene. One thing that I wanted to show you is how to do the follow through thing. So I'm going to grab this keyframe here, which is let's actually mirror these so that we are coming to this point and I want to follow through and continue the camera animation. So I'm just going to make another keyframe by holding Control, Command, and clicking. And we have this here, and since I want this to continue moving, I'm just going to move it up a little bit. And this is where some of these tools come in very handy. So right now we have this if this is actually creating a curve, I can quickly just click here to zero that out, and then I can come here, select, and hit S, and then all I need to do is align that handle with this spline here, and then I can actually select that keyframe and come to lock tangent angles. So now I can't move the angle up or down. I can only adjust this curvature here. So let's actually zero this out so that we have a constant move here, and you can see how that's working. So maybe if I wanted to have even more ease into this keyframe here, I can do that. And since I have my tangent locked for the angle, I can move it without actually affecting the angle of the tangent. Obviously, for this type of move, a little bit more of ease here is gonna help. So you can see that there. If I wanted to have this actually move back even more, I would have to obviously adjust this. So unlock, adjust this, and lock it again. Yeah, so pretty handy for doing this type of animations for the stop and then continue follow through. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for being here. Please let me know in the comments if you're liking these videos, if there's anything that you want to see on Patreon. And again, I really appreciate your support. Thank you for being here. I'm trying to do my best to make these videos really informational and, high quality for all of you guys. So yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.